Let's get right to some hockey talk. Thrilled to be joined by Flyers great himself, Chris Therien. Chris, you getting ready for the hockey playoffs, even though the Flyers won't be in it this year?
You know what, guys? That's a really good question. You know what? It's been a weird year, man, in terms of walking. And I think the Flyers, to be quite honest with you, have left such a bad taste in people's mouths around the area that I'm not even really forecasting what's going on yet with the Stanley Cup. It's been a treacherous season for the Orange and Black, and again, you know, there's not many places I don't go where someone doesn't say something to me about it publicly. And you know what? Rightfully so. I mean, Philadelphia is not pretty smart. It's a darn smart hockey town, and sports town in general. And you know, an effort from the one we've seen from the better part of the year has been truly disappointing.
Well, considering last year they went into the playoffs as the number one seed, everybody was hopeful for this year. So I'm just going to ask you the loaded question. Where did things go wrong?
I think there's a lot of things, you know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is a tough evaluation period for the GM. It's a lot easier for me to do it now. I think, first of all, the goaltending had a down year. Am I going to blame everything that happened to this team on Carter Hart or Brian Elliott? No, Elliott had a good start. Carter Hart had a very disappointing, a bad year. When you look back at it, the numbers that he has, hopefully it's an outlier. The defense you know, to be quite honest with you, you know, Philadelphia had been sold on the kids coming for years. And I was part of it, you know, down at the glass. The problem is at the time is that everybody else's kids were already playing when a couple of our, you know, the so-called kids here, or 3 or 4 of them were, you know, not up yet. That's valuable development time. So I think a lot of things went south there. I don't know if they're as good as advertised. And you have an aging core. That's the problem. You've got guys that have been quite comfortable financially. You know, they say it never plays a factor, but there's guys that have been playing in a lazy boy here for quite a long time now. And I think when you don't have anything between that older core that had good careers and a young group that is, you know, I think kind of lost a little bit, that makes for a very, very bad mix on a hockey team, and that's what you've seen this year. That's what I think it is.
Shane Gostisbehere, I believe at the morning skate today, said, "We realize obviously some changes are going to come. We're not stupid in that sense." What happens next to this team? Did they wait too long to trade their veterans that they won't have value, or do they need to break it up now after giving it one more try and it just not working?
It's not even one more try anymore, guys. It's been multiple years. I mean, if you go back, and again, everyone seems like we're pointing the finger at Giroux. I'm not pointing the finger at Giroux. He's had a very, very an outstanding Philadelphia Flyer career. But as the captain of this team, and when and again, you know, you're judged and measured by your playoff successes in sports. You know, I mean, we never talk about Michael Jordan's regular season success, albeit there's tons of them. We talk about the great moments he's had in playoffs, multiple ones. Lots of guys have in Stanley Cup playoffs, NBA playoffs, NFL, Tom Brady. Claude Giroux, as the captain of this team, has never gotten past, you know, that top round, or the first round after they went to the finals in 2010 when he was a young guy still on another leadership's back. So, you know, those are the evaluations that take place, and whether he wants to believe it or not, that's a harsh reality. You know, everybody, you know, anybody that comes into the league, you know, you're a math equation to the team. You know, that it didn't always used to be like that, but now you are. You know, you're a statistic, you're a salary cap hit, and you have to be maneuvered around by the general manager accordingly. And if you're wrong now, the way the NHL is set up right now, you're going to be wrong for a decade, and your fan base is going to pay for it.
So do we have the right leadership? Do we have the right general manager and the right coach to get us in the right direction?
Well, the coach, you know, I don't know a lot about Chuck Fletcher. I really don't, guys. I was here for a year. I mean, he's not been very active. His one move, that he made last summer, based on what he's done, the only move he made was signing Eric Gustafson, who was an utter disaster the entire year in Philadelphia. So, and then he ended up being the first guy he got rid of. So, I mean, if you're going to mark a GM by the moves he makes and the players he decides to keep, he did a nice job with a couple of contracts, getting Lawton in at a nice deal. But, and Alain Vigneault, a highly respected guy. Both of them are. Both the guys are very well respected around the league. AV, though, I mean, he's had two goalies that are Hall of Famers in his career. When you have guys like that for, 13, 14 years of your coaching experience, your record's going to look really good. There's no doubt about that. So the trick for a coach is when your team isn't as good, how do you make them better? And I think that he did last year. They made major strides. And I think now, when you look at some of the guys that came off the roster from last year, heavy defensive presence, that guys that really, really paid the price for you. Matt Niskanen was a horrible loss. He was a guy that stabilized everything. I think they've been waiting for Provorov to become that number one guy, but I'm not sure he's ever going to be. He's not a Desjardins. He's not a Chemo Timonen, and I played with Desjardins for a decade as my partner. There's something different about players like that, like Desjardins or Timonen and Mark Howe type of player. So they've got their work to do, guys, and in a salary cap era where they're locked into some pretty heavy deals, it's going to be a tough thing to do. And I think right now when you're at a situation like the Flyers are where you're just hoping a big salary gets taken off the board to Seattle in expansion this summer, that's not where you want to be as an organization. And that's really the harsh reality that's facing this team right now.
I don't know if people realize just how much the loss of Matt Niskanen would have meant. And I think that the defensive lapses, I mean, they gave up 41 power play goals this season. Since March, in the first period, they've been outscored 46-19 in games. And, you mentioned the struggles of Carter Hart. Jeff and I have talked for years on this show that until the Flyers solved their goaltending problem, they wouldn't figure out what they were doing. This season, struggles are an understatement. 9-11-5, 3.67 goals against, 877 save percentage. Before the season, we saw stories. He split from his goaltending coach. He just seemed unsteady this year, where last year he seemed more steady there. What did you see out of him? And do you have hope that it is that outlier that he can turn it around?
Well, that's what I'm hoping, because I've seen a very, very good goaltender. But just on the surface alone right there, as you mentioned, guys, those numbers, if his name wasn't Carter Hart and it was, Bill Smith, he'd be in the East Coast League with numbers like that. So there's room and wiggle time for this guy to get his game back. And what's funny, when you talk to anybody, he's never had any type of episode like this in his career, not in junior, not in the World Juniors. So this is it's almost like that's what I'm hoping, guys. I'm hoping it's an outlier. I think a lot of people are hoping it's an outlier, but those numbers right there, I mean, that's basement. That's a basement numbers right there. And those have to be fixed. You can't, it's really difficult to win unless you have a stable goaltender in this league. That's never changed over the history. And even the style of the game. The goaltending is the most key position. And if it's not up to snuff on a daily basis to be able to pick up for your team when it's not going good, you could be facing a lot of trouble. And that's exactly what's happened. Defensive pieces this year missing, way too many goals against, almost a complete reversal of the good things that we saw last year that had this team, not necessarily, they were the number one seed. They were the number one seed because of that mini round robin. That was kind of a coin toss. So, but they ended up winning it. They still were the number one seed. So I understand the expectation part from the city, but it has been a total disappointment. And I'll be honest with you, I've never seen the fan base as frustrated and as upset as they've been this year.
Chris, in addition to your work on the ice and being an inspiration for people on the ice, you've been doing a lot of stuff off the ice and gone through your own journey. We wanted to just give you the chance to talk about that a little bit.
Sure. Well, I mean, as you said, Sam Carchidi had, I had mentioned to him, and I've opened a recovery center for addiction and mental health. It's in Fishtown. It's called Limitless Recovery Center. And, you know, as a recovered alcoholic myself that's, you know, has 10 plus years right now, I look at a lot of the gifts that sobriety has given me and the opportunities it's presented itself for me. So, you know, I had a young family at the time. I was at the end of my career. I'd gone through some really, really rough personal things, the loss of my sister in particular. And I knew that I had to, you know, to become a meaningful member of society post-hockey. I mean, you can't live like that. So, you know, luckily for me, I had enough wherewithal within it to recognize it and tackle the problem with help from others as well. You know, it's not an easy thing to do, but, you know, after having done broadcasting for 14 years following my career, and I was let go last year, you know, I knew that I wanted to do something, and I've always been a pro-action type of person. So I always, you know, I felt that going over the bridge and, you know, letting people know, hey, I'm still here. I've been here a long time. I appreciate them so much allowing me into their living rooms over the years. This was very much a give back on my end to the city. And so far, guys, with Limitless, we've helped so many people, whether they've walked in, we've got people come off the streets, just walking in, introducing themselves, looking to get help. And that right there alone is exactly what I wanted to have happen. It could never have happened without the people in this city embracing it. And I'm truly forever be grateful for that. I really will be. And again, we're helping people one at a time. It's a very difficult time right now through the pandemic, but you know, alcohol, you know, the sales of alcohol and alcoholism has spiked. Drugs have never been worse. And I see a lot of young people involved. And now I see that, and I hear the sad stories, the sad endings. It just breaks my heart. So I know I'm doing the right thing right now. This will probably be my last stop in terms of, you know, what I want to do with my Philadelphia career, but it's certainly the most meaningful and one that makes the most impact to me and the people that care about me in the area. So it's been just a great venture. And if you guys, anybody does need help, I tell them all the time, Limitless Recovery Centers, we're on any social media platform. You can get access to our webpage there. And if you need help, give us a call, you know, give us a chat on our message box, whatever it is. We want, you know, we're here for you. We want to erase the stigma of addiction. Too many people think you know, look at you as a loser for it. You're not a loser. You had something wrong with you. You have a chance to repair it. And that's what I want people to know. But, you know, if I did this, guys, and I really believe this, that anybody can do it. And that's the message I want to get out to people.
Well, hopefully we can have you back on again to talk more about it, because normalizing mental health with athletes using their platform is definitely something that helps other people. So, Chris, we can't thank you enough for the time and the success on your journey that you're taking. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Guys, it was great being on with you. Thanks very much and have a great weekend.